Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon, and I've recorded a very emotional episode. Let me see if we're not already in Saturn Hour, because I think we might be. Um, Happy belated birthday, United States. Yeah, only now I noticed that yesterday was the 4th of July, and that was. Yeah, we still go. Okay, let's take a look at the Sibley chart. Sibley chart, solar return. Yeah, yesterday was a difficult day. It was a Saturday here, everything was closed, even with the air condition. And I craved spirulina, which I still crave. So I couldn't even see it was the 4th of July. Nothing, I just missed the birthday of the United States. And then I talk about diplomats. So United States with transits. United States, and I think United States is still having its solar return today, so I'm not in an offset because the transit in Sun is still 13 degrees Cancer, so the solar return is actually today, and the Mercury return for the solar return. Mercury retrograde on the Mercury of United States. Mars Uranus in the seventh house. Let's just forget about that one. um, Venus Leo. Venus in the ninth house. So United States is a day chart. Jupiter here is in Leo, applying to oppose Pluto, and also separating from opposition to the natal Pluto. This is big international year, but the Sun in the eighth house accentuates hidden things, swiped under the rug things, occult related things. Um, Funding, US debt, US Treasury, um, US Epstein files, the holding accountable a lot of the MK Ultra that happened right around the 4th of July. I mean, the hearing was, I think, a day before the 4th of July, into the 4th of July. Um, People talked about the Swifties that closed businesses or closed streets on the 4th of July. Um, just kind of like an interesting event. I don't know. I don't know the Swifties, so I can't make an opinion. I addressed it in a different video. Because one liner, unlike Albina, I think that there is a global structure, and I also disagree with Annika Lucas here, because the global structure makes it very challenging for people to become billionaires within it without rubbing shoulders with and with certain sectors. And it's kind of like, hey, that, and you know what, that is the content that I think everybody wants, but are afraid to ask. It's kind of like, what? It is true. um, this is why my response to the Swifties was so responsive. responsive. Okay, Saturn, Aries, Neptune, Aries, Chiron, Taurus, Chiron in the sixth house, Venus in the ninth. Chiron in the sixth house, Venus in the ninth. Um, Values, the beliefs, particularly in situations of The sixth house can be vassal countries, 2 days to summit, but also um, it can be vassal countries, but it can also be enemy countries, and it can also be the countries that the United States experiences itself as vassal to. And the Profidor had a way to talk about it, and I'm like, I'm not sure that. And like people see it as economic hitmanship. She sees it as as United States being the victim, and I'm like, I'm not sure which perspective. Um, Moon in the fourth house accentuates the people in this solar return. I don't have the solar return chart as per ascendant. Um, Chiron's still in the fourth house of the natal chart, or Chiron transit in the fourth house of the natal chart. Pluto Aquarius. So, it's not a solar return chart reading. The apparent themes that are for the transits are Chiron in Taurus in particular, and we opened this year with Chiron in Taurus and Moon transiting and Venus transiting the ninth house. Solar return in the United States are always associated with the eighth house, so unfortunately 4th of July is always going to associate with some things that are, it's kind of like difficult to have a sun in the eighth house because every birthday is going back to that swiped under the rug issue. The good thing about it is that it gives an opportunity to address those issues and then come up with solutions. For example, a lot of the things that I talked about, even regarding the Epstein dossiers, which I talked about in the previous video, have to do with contributions of American scholarly thinking, whether it's pragmatism, attachment patterns, secure attachment, relaxed arousal, removing the shame from the misplaced arousal and the trauma reaction to sexual boundary violation, awareness to the hemisphere separation, both in MK Often and MK Ultra, awareness to egregores and the study of egregores that was way more declassified and the reparations that begin to happen with all the baggage that I think all of us have around this, and those are right baggages. It's like the Mars Uranus in the seventh house, of course, is not an easy transit. And the Jupiter in the ninth house, ruling the ascendant, ruling the fourth house. It's both the fact that anything that happens in the United States, we're gonna know. I think there was a big storm when Trump was giving his speech, and he said, "Oh, storms can also be lucky," and and decided to give his speech within the storm. And I think the omen or the opening note of weathering the storm or navigating the storm is probably relevant. With Chiron's sixth house, probably United States will want to correct both, will be called to correct both situations where it was doing economic hitmanship and where it was susceptible to be a vassal country in itself. And the fact that the latter cannot be corrected by doing the former. Because like we can't do economic hitmanship to get out of being vassal country without that being simply a teeter tatter, and and then there is the BRICS, and then there is the globalization and the UBI, and a lot of people that are wondering about a lot of things. Pluto going through the third house, Saturn in the fifth, and businesses of entertainment. And I think that this accentuates an ongoing discussion about the debt associated with the Epstein files. Mars, again, ruled by this Mars Uranus. So people are probably doing the follow the monies. They're seeing the everyday life effect of. And it's going to be people both within and outside. And again, it was a global issue, it was not a US issue. Israel, of course, have a lot to look into, but also all the countries involved, which is all the countries. Neptune in the fifth. Given this Mars Uranus a mythical meaning, think about the transit of the Mars Uranus as the mythical topic of civil war, the mythical attempts to keep United States unified in the face of the risk of civil war, the mythical making United States great and so on, the mythical, and then those in opposition probably the mythical, what were the mythical blue doing? What was, by the way, Labor's Day, May 1st, was originally the blue uniforms. I think of the people at the fort. Now, again, this is something that the people that are libertarians teach, so I'm not sure that this is completely correct. But in United States, that was associated with the Civil War, and then of course it got the upturn after the Cold War, or prior to the Cold War, during the Cold War, of the commies lists and the blacklisting. Now it's very interesting because now we have this with China having a lot of land in United States, and the question is there going to be a commies listing or a blacklisting? Unfortunately, this Mars ruling over Saturn with Uranus can give a little bit of revolution that can have a blacklisting associated with it. But Saturn is no longer with Neptune on a conjunct level, so it's probably going to look a bit different because Saturn is actually sextiling Neptune and Pluto. And then we had like the Epstein files, so it's like, oh, is it the Epstein files? Is it the Epstein list? I don't know. And the axis of eclipses switching from Ketu in the ninth, Rahu in the third, meaning United States will deal more with the internal affairs and the local rather than the international. and it can, how should I say that?
אני חוזר, נא לא לשלוח תיקים וחפצים אישיים, כל הנוסעים הנמצאים בקרון האחרונים כיוון הנסיעה. אינכם מבקשים את כיוון מרכז הרכבת, המעט עלי בבליחה בתחנה הבאה. לתשומת לב כל הנוסעים, הרכבת תיסע לאחר מכן לחניון למשך הערב, ואני מבקש מכל הנוסעים להזדרז בעת הירידה. תודה רבה ויום טוב.
Unless you want to sleep in the train tonight. No, we don't. So, I think that the local issues, the local countries, the local neighboring countries are going to play more importance on 2027-8. But here is the thing, local is also China when China has land in US. And with Ketu in the ninth house, there's going to be either going to or retrieving to the comfort zones of, if I think about the Making America Great Again, and deriving from past times of Making America Great, which is so, I haven't watched that video yet, but I want to give credit here. I don't know if it's showing on my feed. And no, it's not showing on my feed. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. No, it doesn't. Okay, I need. I will write me in the comments and I will look for that video. So that notion that there may be a retreating into past big ideas that are also global and international. Now here is the thing, I'm not sure if it's not going to express itself as attempt to do splendid isolation. And we remember, it ended with Hiroshima and Nagasaki last time, but I'm just going to retreat and drink my oh shit, the coffee is like, it's made in China and we don't trade with China. Sushi trade in China is made in, yes, Japan, but we buy it from Chinese, the products, and we don't trade with China. Oh, well, now. And then, it's kind of like, well, how are we going to trade again? We'll need, we'll bomb Japan. But it's a NATO ally. So is Ankara. 2 days to summit. I'm not asking for dividends for that PR because it's not like they're not thinking to throw bombs in our region. And I'm not sure. I mean, you can ask for, or you say, oh, I want dividends for that, then it better drop an A bomb on our city too. Anybody remember that Balenciaga had this weird campaign with children? I hope people weren't investing. You weren't buying a Balenciaga again.
תן לו מונית פה, לנחל עשן. אתה בתור, אתה.
The Joe Maloney did embargo on mimosa. The guys running the cities with Peter Thiel where all the who's and who's meet. And he needs to do an embargo on mimosa. I'm craving. Peter Thiel knows. He knows everything about all of us. I'm craving spirulina. You would think it is simple. You would think it's like, okay, universal basic income, and they'll shut the. And then somebody is craving spirulina. And not even pregnant. Do you know how much shadow work it took to get me to crave this spirulina? So, the Chinese are probably like, yeah, the United States is doing great things and bombing Iran and other infrastructure in Russia. Oh, that's it's the same weapon. But 2 days to summit. Now here is the difference between U.S. marketing and Chinese marketing. With U.S. marketing, you take a Balenciaga and you show something that looks like something with children, and then they'll talk about it, talk good about it, talk bad about it. They'll talk about it. People will buy it. People will sell it. They'll say they don't want their Balenciaga, and then people will buy it and say, oh, they're going to forget about it. Going to have it. With the Chinese, if they sell an umbrella, they need to show that the umbrella works. Don't weapon trade with China, please. They're gonna have to show that it works. But I'm not saying, I don't know how the Swedes market, but they have entire real estate of Amsterdam. They say they owe a lot of people a lot of money for the people that were in. The Swedes. Probably a lot of Swiss people, they don't know that they have estates in Amsterdam on their name. Again, I'm craving spirulina. Happy birthday, US of A. Wow.